have to be terrified of for anybody but G2. G2 looking pretty confident coming into this one.
I mean, you have to when you're 6-0, but this Misfits lineup here is probably the best early game team we actually see in the West, especially now we got to see NA also at Rift Rivals. Like, they play so fast. They are so good at playing around winning lanes, and especially Maxlaw in the jungle. Not only is he a sexy man now with the beard, his in-game performance matches the looks, and that is something we don't see very often.
I agree.
All right, but on the opposite side, their opponents went to Rift Rivals, looked amazing in the group stage, 3-0. G2 Esports, undefeated also in the EU LCS, and this is a roster, yes, they're known for funnel right now, but you do have to respect the individual talent as well.
Oh, and when you speak about individual talent, your eyes naturally tend towards Wonder and Perks. These two players have been phenomenal, but Wonder in particular, MVP of Rift Rivals. He was finding solo kills left, right, and center. You give this man tanks, you give this man carries. He seems to be a one-man band, and so far, North American teams really struggle to answer.
And look, a lot of people would say, oh, it's just the Aatrox pick. Well, we saw him in the Swain up against Impact's Gangplank. 50 CS lead in the laning phase. I don't know if he can hope to get the same things here against Alphari, but if he can, that is an excellent start for G2.
I just want to see what kind of draft we get from G2, because they have played a lot of standard as well. It's not just been funnel on their side, and the standard comps have also been great from them. The only game they've lost so far this split is actually in a funnel draft, where they got shut down by Echo Fox. Misfits, they play fast, they play aggressive enough in the early game to punish a slow-scaling funnel draft, so maybe they're actually hoping G2 grabs the Kai'Sa.
And interestingly enough, Misfits already going for a couple of target bans straight towards G2. I know, Tefisha, something you spoke a lot about is that when we look at the ban phase, often we see them banning away things like strong mages in the bottom side of the map so they can still go for AD carries to give Hansama some comfort.
Now, of course, the Braum, key to funnel compositions. The Heimerdinger, key to Hjarnen's champion pool. G2 forced to ban away some of these priority picks, while Misfits get to ban away all the comfort.
Effectively, they're just trying to make the funnel comp as weak as possible, if that is what G2 decides to draft. But they can just go for standard on their side. Zoe is left open in this current draft phase, something Senkux can take. But Rakan early here was a big pick for Wadid when G2 got to play it. Now it's going to be Misfits, and it suits their style of having things that can force proactive plays.
Also, we heard from Misfits that they were going, if they played the funnel comp for G2 Esports, they would just lose. But Misfits is just taking away anything that would make a funnel work. They take away the Rakan to make sure the Xayah can't get picked up either. And now G2, you can see them really taking their time on these first rotations.
Standards.
It also feels like Misfits gearing towards a strong 2 versus 2 down in the bottom lane as well. Remember that Hjarnen last split really struggled when he played conventional AD carries, and so far we've seen him on things like Karma, Morgana, Heimerdinger down in the bottom lane, and with 2 of those big picks already banned off, you have to wonder what direction G2 will take towards their bottom lane.
Yeah, I think with the Heimer ban, they're trying to push him on the traditional supports he likes to play, because then you can really take an AD carry against him and try and punish it. But Swain is still open in this draft, and he's considered probably the best answer in the bottom lane against traditional AD carries, because they can't get close to him. He pops ulti at level 6, and he literally just 1v1s them down. Not grabbed by G2 early. Do we get Xayah Rakan from Misfits?
That's kind of what I'm expecting. It's a strong 2 versus 2. It's a lane that Misfits love to play through, and I just feel that in terms of the bottom side of the map, it gives a lot of advantages towards Misfits. If I'm Misfits right now, I'm looking at things like the Camille, a big comfort pick for Maxlaw, allows you to make a lot of early plays, and it can set you up to play through the bot lane as well.
And I love this. Yasuo locked in for Senkux. Any other split, I would not believe my eyes, but this has been such a good split for this guy, giving a champion that can make plays, that can be a strong individual laner, not the Malzahar, not the Aurelion Soul. This is a new look for Senkux.
And again here, I actually really want Swain for Hjarnen, so he has more of a carry, not a supportive laner, and it is such a good choice against AD carries, but it's not being locked in. Misfits cannot ban away unless they actually don't even think Hjarnen wants to play it, and that is not something we see left open in a lot of drafts and not picked in the first phase.
Interesting to see the differences in team priority here. Kindred rising up. We saw in the Fnatic game. We're seeing it now in the hands of G2 Esports. Yanko's going to get his hands on a jungle champion. Excited to have that one. But Trundle now getting banned away. G2 deciding what they want to limit here in terms of picks, given that they know mid lane and they know the bottom side.
Yeah, they're banning the obvious combo with Trundle Pillar and the Yasuo. Creates such a strong 2v2 setup.
I do feel like Gragas should rise in priority for Misfits, though, because when you look at things like Engage, Safe Blind, that can also be flexed between top and jungle, it also sets up for the Yasuo, and I feel like that it would fight quite nicely into this comp, and also work pretty effectively against things like the Kindred ulti too.
Let's also see what G2 ends up drafting for the back line, because they have double protection in Kindred ult plus Tahm Kench. This feels like the kind of game where you want something where Yanan can deal consistent DPS and not just poke damage, because you have so many ways of keeping him alive. You have poke already from Perks. You don't necessarily need more, unless you're just going for a full siege comp.
Is that going to be the option, though? Swain is banned away, limiting that power pick, taking that option off the board for Hjarnan. He's not going to get quite the comfort pick he may have set his sights on. Ziggs, of course, still available if they're insistent on playing those mages on the bottom side.
So now it's an NA special. Can still work in this poke comp here where you have so much long-range damage if it is going to be the lock-in. But there's a Ziggs you mentioned, same deal. It is a siege comp from G2.
Will be hard to get on top of that Ziggs. So much potential damage thrown down. The Kindred to back it up. You talked about it already, Deficio, protecting that back line. So Misfits, what is their answer? They have a lot of engage power here with the Rakan Yasuo combo.
Man.
See, I wouldn't mind a Mundo and a Gragas here, but ooh, that would be an interesting shift. It follows up quite nicely with the engage that you already have with the Rakan. In terms of blind pick, though, it would be a bit of a risk. So given that Alphari has played so much Mundo already this split, I think it makes a lot of sense, and they're just following up with more engage.
Yeah, and there's so much magic damage on G2 already. Mundo literally is the champion against all this magic damage. So that is the natural pick. I think the Shen would be even more focused on Snowball. I think they're saying, you know, we got enough. This is now Misfits actually taking a step back and drafting just the strongest 5-on-5 possible.
Balancing out their team fight, getting the cover pick for Alphari. It's his 5th game on Mundo. He's looked obviously good on it as they've won every single game. So he's pretty much looked good on every champion. Additionally, Maxlor getting that team fight, that engage potential. Rounding out the composition, however, is Wonder's Gangplank. Spring Split, this was the pick to watch.
Oh, it certainly was. This guy, in the finals, every single game had Fiora, Gangplank, and Camille banned away from him because of how comfortable he was on these carries in the top lane. We've already seen his dominance on things like the Aatrox, and when you put a Gangplank into a Mundo, it gives you a pretty free lane to get to those item spikes, and once you hit that first Trinity Force along with the Luden's Echo of the Zoe, you can really start to be proactive around the map.
I just like their answers in this draft here. It's like, okay, we get Rakan first, so G2 already knows, okay, they're going to start Rakan, there's going to be a lot of engage, so they draft instant protection from a back line, and then suddenly Misfits see it, like, okay, fine, we're not just going to go all in on engage, we're going to draft big fatty tanks that you can't kill in time, and then we can try now to sustain you in fights. And then you get the GP answer in the end against the Mundo, adds more physical damage, which is also necessary for them. Really cool drafting here. G2 not playing funnel, it is very long range.
I feel like we're also seeing two very distinct styles where Deficio coming into this matchup, we talked a lot about how G2 not necessarily like to play through their top side of the map because they have played so many funnel, but Wonder is someone you can always look to play through and rely on to be a big carry, whereas for Misfits, they so much love to play through the bot side of the map, but it's going to be challenging against a Ziggs and a Tahm Kench. It feels like G2 have come in prepared and say, you know what, we're just going to kind of rely on Hjarnan and Wadid to do their best to survive. And when you have so much wave clear and so much peel, it will be more challenging for G2 to play through that ball side of the map.
And of course, we wanted to see, was it going to be funnel versus standard? Well, now we've got two very different compositions. Misfits with the tried and true in terms of the standard composition. They bring the Xayah Rakan bottom lane. Bit of a stranger to the EU LCS outside of that H2K game where it was picked up.
And now we, of course, talked a lot about, you know, the top lane, the bot lane, in the mid lane. You highlight already how Senkuk's grabbing a Yasuo. It is a big statement for him. This is the biggest kind of game where he is against Perks, the best performing mid laner in Europe at the moment, and he has a chance to show that he can actually outplay him.
Well, if you believe in Senkux and Misfits, spam MSF in the chat. If you believe in Perks and G2, spam G2. We'll take a look at how those votes are playing out. But I think it's a great point you bring up, Deficio, because Senkux was so confident when we talked to him on Euphoria.
Yep.
He didn't rank himself in the mid lane tier list. We pushed for an answer, and he said, I am up there with Perks and Caps. And you heard in the future as well, he's pushing. He wants to be better.
Time to show it, baby. Time to show it this game here.
Ooh. A lot of favoritism towards G2 Esports at the moment right now, though.
Oh, it's getting worse.
Huh?
Not coming.
Remember, Twitch chat, you need to be typing in there Misfits
Spam.
or G2.
Control
Spam
C,
it.
Control V. Let's go. Control V, boys. Control V, enter.
The crowd wants the 50-50.
45-55.
It's getting tense between
Interesting because
these
the
teams.
analyst predictions are so in favor of Misfits, but the fans favor G2 for now. Also, there's League of Legends happening, but this bar, guys, this bar really compelling.
Oh, the bar, yeah, that's the highlight. For now, it doesn't go to 50-50, man. It just stays.
Go! Misfits are winning. The game is done, folks. It's 130, 140. Pack it up. Misfits have won. Popular vote's all that matters.
And now we take it down. No chance of a comeback. All right, let's see the game here. Very standard start so far, except for the fact that Misfits really likes to leave Maxlord to just start a camp on his own so that Zyra Khan, Hansama and Mickey can stay in the bot lane from the get-go. That means they get the push. And that's important because once they have the control of bot side, that's when Maxwell starts moving down and he joins in with Mickey and they roam into the enemy jungle and the mid lane.
Jankos getting a little lucky with the spawning of the mark. It is on this bottle Scuttle Crab. He had already
all
decided
skill, baby.
Yeah, all calculated from the side of Jankos. He's going to pick up his first mark relatively early, and Maxlaw, recognizing that risk, has just decided to go for a pretty standard clear towards blue, wolves, and then into his red buff. If Jankos is able to get both Scuttle Crabs, that's a pretty large influx of gold, and will also give him a lot of early vision control. But it will also make things harder for Maxlaw to try and invade towards the bot side of the map, which is something we see Misfits do a lot so far during the regular season.
And you can see Maxlor taking the fleet footwork, clearly aware that he wants a safer jungle clear against a champion like Kindred, at least for now. So doesn't take the risk, gives up both scuttles like you talked about, Vedius.
So I also want to use this opportunity to quickly talk about all the teleports that are on the side of Misfits. Something that we've noticed a lot throughout the regular season is that Mickey loves this summoner spell. It is so valuable for Misfits to react to plays that happen around the map because he is very quickly able to join so many different situations. And Hansama has it for returning to lane, keeping pressure up and making sure that they have control and pressure. But for Mickey, it just enables him to get involved in a lot of fights that often happen in Misfits early game.
Oh, Senkuks, good win wall there to stop the play from happening. But when you talk about Misfits, I mean, one of the things that's nice about that teleport is once they get a lead, they just keep snowballing it.
Oh, baby.
And Misfits are no strangers to early leads, gentlemen. 5.1k gold deficit at 15.
Yeah, best early game team we have. You know, they always get first blood, they get massive leads. There's another stat here, we see the amount of towers they get. Like, they've gotten the first 3 turrets before the enemy team got 3 turrets every single game so far. There's never been a case where they didn't actually grab all the outer turrets and just got full control in 6 games. They didn't go to Rift Rivals. They've had 2 weeks to relax on some of it, regain your focus, prepare just for G2 Esports for the rest of the week. They got to watch all the games where we got different picks showing up. They obviously got to see the Aatrox, probably not, you know, the biggest surprise if you had to ban it. Definitely got to buff that one a little bit too much. But in the end, they've had way more time to get ready for this than G2.
And you can already see they're kind of sticking to what they've known so far, playing towards the bot side of the map. They have pressure in the lane with the Zyra Khan, very much what we expected, and something that we see multiple times from Maxlaw is working with Mickey to get a bit of deep vision in this bottom side of the map to enable Hansama and Mickey to just keep pushing, keep playing forward, and have that bit of security and information.
Good bit of confidence from Maxlor to invade while Perks and Wadid are in a decent position to roam up. Doesn't get spotted out though, so is able to grab the camp right up until now, as he will contest that next Scuttle Crab spawn, starting to make up for a little bit of the deficit he put himself in earlier.
Yeah, rough start for Senkuks as well. The wave is not in a good spot for him right now. He's sitting with only 19 CS to 36 on Perks. Of course, there's a bit of a larger wave here, but he's still going to be far down. A
lot of it also came from Jankos' pressure in the mid lane. We saw him after taking the second Scuttle Crab immediately come to the mid lane and just zone Senkuks from the farm. So smart wave management coming out from Perks, along with the pressure for his jungler, is just really putting the Misfits mid laner behind.
And happy to have that start. We see what can happen when a Zoe takes off, especially a Zoe in the hands of Perks. And with all the pressure down mid lane, you see Maxlor having to be generally in that area. And Wonder now free to just push in on the top side, 41 to 37. Has the Klepto as well, not worried about trading, just wants to farm up in this lane phase. And things look good as another mark goes down for Jankos.
Okay, Jankos, he's around mid now. There's a TP coming as well.
Senkuks looking for the startup there. Flash out from Perks. Maxwell wants a little bit more, but Hail of Arrows comes over. Mickey X wants the engage. Is going to get first blood for Misfits.
And what a play. Like, you do not see a support randomly. It looks like TP into a mid lane. Everyone can see him join, but he comes instantly because he knows there's a fight starting. And Jankos tried to flash out in time, but because all 3 members were there, he died and still used the flash. Big, big win for Misfits.
And this is exactly what we were talking about with regards to that teleport on Mickey. He loves to get involved with a lot of the early plays. Misfits continue with their 100% first blood participation, and they find themselves in an early game gold lead.
And when you look at this teams, you thought that there might be a bit of a mismatch in the bottom lane. Hansama able to hold this lane down solo. Yarn and Wadid not able to respond while Mickey goes to the mid lane. So that's exactly what you want if you are a Misfits fan or if you are on the Misfits lineup.
Yeah, and the next thing that normally happens for Misfits is once the bot lane gets level 6 and they have control, they start going to lane. Wonder, he's in trouble.
Oh, wants to run away. A little bit of a tough spot here. Is just going to get taken down. Can't let the Mundo go through for Alfari.
You're not playing against any mid laners anymore. This is Alfari up in the top lane, and that Mundo pick has been so huge for him. Wonder going down early. Misfits, 2 early kills.
Oh man, NA is lucky that we apparently didn't send our best top laner in Europe as Alfari finds himself.
That was rough, man.
Bold calls, man.
Gotta
It's
keep
one
in mind.
kill in the early game.
Hey, Wonder had to practice on 60 ping for a week. That clearly hurts his
Instantly
mechanics.
a terrible player is what we've learned. That's the situation.
But a great start for Misfits, finding 2 very early kills, continuing to utilize the pressure that they have in bot and in mid as well to steal away the early blue buff. And this is something that this team does so well. They find an early lead and they just constantly look to push it as much as possible.
Now, gentlemen, I do have an update. This is normally where I tell you about the POV stream. We'd see the player perspective, but unfortunately, we are experiencing technical difficulties with our POV stream over at twitch.tv/riotgames2, which means that, unfortunately, we're canceling the stream for tonight. So I'm sorry if you guys were looking forward to Perks playing Zoe. It does look pretty clean right now, but you can watch right here with us on Riot Games.
And here you can watch all 10 players.
And you might want to watch top lane right now, because if Mundo just keeps clapping people, this is going to be a very interesting game.
But also on the bright side, every player POV stream we do ends up cursing the player, and they end up dying way more often than they should. So if anything, many G2 fans will be happy the Perks might be free from our curse.
No gray screen stream for Perks this time around. Well, hasn't died yet, and still gold even despite the kill advantage for Misfits.
Yeah, I think that's important to highlight. Like, we did have a bit of fun with Wonder getting solo kill there. He's still in a great spot. He's Klepto up in the top lane, so he has a gold lead over the Mundo. He's up 10 CS. Dying, of course, is never the option or what you're aiming for as a GP, but it really doesn't hurt him that much. He gets to respawn quick and return to lane. So he's still fine.
And of course, Wonder, a guy that we have big expectations for. You joked who's the best top laner in EU. Well, Wonder, that's up for contention, but best top laner at Rift Rivals, that was definitely him. 7.0 KDA, massive CS differential at 15. Gold as well, single-handedly bringing up the team's gold lead by himself.
I mean, the great thing about Wonder is he's just someone that builds leads for himself. You know, we talked about how Misfits as a team love to play through their bottom lane. G2 have not really been known for trying to camp Wonder, get him ahead, kind of find him all these advantages. He just finds them by himself. And that's what makes him such a good top laner and what kind of sung his praises so much for him during Rift Rivals against all the North American top.
Yeah, definitely agree. And meanwhile, on the side of Misfits, their bot lane is actually kind of known for doing the same this split. It's in 2v2s with 80 carries every single time. They're laning very well, Mickey and Hansama, and they are always pushing onto the turret. This is against the Ziggs they're doing it right now. Level 6 is coming in for Mickey soon. We could see Misfits start setting up a play around bottom side that could result in a turret plus a Drake, and that's kind of the big one they're always aiming for.
Of course, with D with the cleanse, he's ready to try to interrupt any of those plays. Can't stop the knockup, but can't stop the charm. Look to save Yarn and look to buy time if the play does go down. Of course, you can see the word from Yamato Cannon. G2 revealing a lot. You guys already mentioned it, and so Yamato Cannon in the Misfits camp this time around.
Maxlow is around that bottom side here. Let's see what actually happens, because GP ulti is available, plus Tom Kench. Makes it very hard to tower dive down near Hansama's lane. Instead, it's just starting the Drake. Probably will get that for free, because Jankos is not even close.
Also, you can just see the vision investment towards the bot side of the map, something that Misfits do pretty much every single game. Normally, you get 2 control wards at least at all times throughout this bottom river, and it just comes from the back again, all this pressure that they're able to generate. Mickey's TP is about to come up soon, so you talked about a play through the bot side. There could also be potentially another play elsewhere on the map.
Now you have to keep your eyes on the Rift Scuttler here because, or Rift Herald rather. Maxlor did ping this out the second they went for the Dragon. They know Jankos wanted to go for the return play. It will get denied there, so G2 actually missing out on a decent opportunity and a good map read from the side of Misfits.
G2 just a little bit too far behind in tempo to actually trade here. The Drake would have already died by the time Jankos started the Rift Herald. He's going for it again. I think Maxlor actually he doesn't see anything. So it's not because Misfits were bot lane he can do this. It's actually because they just abandoned the area without any vision in it, and sneaky play from Jankos could be a big win for G2.
I love that he went again. Tried it the first time, didn't work. If at first you don't succeed, try to sneak into the pit again, and no vision blazed down. Jankos saw that, so was able to just keep trying this one out. It's a risk, but it's one that's going to pay off in favor of G2.
Yeah,
excellent to have that Rift Herald, definitely more than the Cloud Drake that Misfits got.
Keep your eyes on the minimap. A lot of members are starting to group up around this middle lane. We had Hansa and Mickey both grouping up with Senkux, probably looking to set up for the Rift Herald after taking Drake, but after a smart, sneaky play there from Jankos, that option won't be available, and Misfits now kind of in a position where they just look to try and go for top tower.
This is some of the small plays I just love when you have the top teams and some creative players. Like, not a lot of guys would have actually returned into that Rift Herald pit to try it a second time. But obviously, because he's a Kindred, there's enough ability to jump in and out. Worst case, he just jumps out and wastes a bit more time, but managed to get it. This was supposed to be Misfits swapping top, get the Rift Herald, use it to take the first turret of the game. That is now slowed down.
Good macro response from the side of G2. Wonder now gets to return to his 1v1 matchup, and this time on the bottom side of the map. And Misfits not able to find any greater advantages. Felt like maybe this was their chance to swing things heavily in their favor, but G2 going toe-to-toe for now.
It's also pretty advantageous for Wonder as that wave is slow pushing towards the tower. Big fatty wave for him that he'll be able to pick up as Zankek's looking for a bit of a pick, but he's now completed his Trinity Force 12 minutes into the game on the Gangplank. He does have his ulti available, and there are 3 members of G2 in the top side of the map.
I'm actually happy we get standard versus standard here. No funnel comp. We just get to see what both teams can actually offer with it. Maxlow on bottom side.
Wonder trying to clear the wave. They want to get a little bit more here. Has the cleanse been used out yet? Is going to use the Zhonya's first. Knows that the wave is going to get cleared. Good patience coming in on that stopwatch from Wonder.
Yana near down to clear the wave. That means top lane is now wide open for Misfits to push. And that's one of the big advantages. If you force a TP defensively, it always means that on the other side of the map, you should have the man advantage. And that is the case for Misfits now.
Now, Jankos does have the Rift Herald, so they could look to use that as a point of pressure elsewhere on the map. And with Ziggs and Gangplank heading up towards the mid lane, I feel like that's what...
He missed it! Just barely misses! Could have stopped the play right there, but now G2 are set up to get this mid lane. Yasuo not the best at responding. This is a similar story for Sejuani. So while Misfits are set up to get tower first blood, G2 may be able to respond back in kind. Sleepy Trouble onto Maxlor. Are they going to look for the follow-up? Jankos now slowly moving forward, wants to get this kill, taking down Maxlor, getting the stack too. That's excellent for G2 Esports.
Last 10 seconds really sucked here from Maxlor. Not only did he miss the stun to stop the Rift Herald from being summoned, he also then dies right after. G2 gets the mid lane turret, almost getting another one.
Ooh, Mickey X just taken down on the side. Wanting to get another kill as well. Perkz going in, looking for that big playmaking moment. Rift Herald is down, but 2 towers taken down for G2. Big advantage to their side.
G2 very quickly answering the pressure that Misfits was trying to instigate with 2 towers of their own and 2 kills. 1,500 gold now in the favor of G2 Esports, and they're the ones dictating the pace of the early game.
And that whole initial advantage comes from, of course, Jankos sneaking into that Rift Herald pit and grabbing it in the first place. And then after they make a defensive play bot lane, they were supposed to lose a lot more than they could gain, but now it's 2 turrets here and that kill onto Maxlow, so G2 right back in the game.
Exactly where they wanted to be. Have to praise Jankos in this game because he's been playing so well thus far. It's a good look on the Kindred. We saw Broxah struggle last game. His team get put behind. It's a different story this time around for Jankos. 4 stacks in. We can take a look one more time. Just a bit of a fumble.
Oof. Just so slightly off to the left as Jankos was able to land the Rift Herald. And if he loses this whole play changes. G2 is still 5 members mid. They'll likely still get this first tower, but the risk of Maxlor dying becomes reduced. The chance of them losing a second tower becomes reduced. Because it gets spawned, they have the numbers advantage, and it becomes a matter of time and pushing from the side of G2.
Really hurts here on the side of Maxlor. Volunteered will go over to Misfits on the way out, but G2 will trade for top, and now both teams just trying to trade objectives around the map. We're still looking for the big team fights that's going to happen later in the game, but G2 Esports, remember they have a Ziggs. He pushes way faster.
And they also have the Tom Kench to move him around the map. So for right now, G2 are advantaged. TPs, not up for Misfits lineup, and we are going to get a brief pause here. Coming from Alfari, we'll find out more context. Officially, do you want to read the hand signals here, or are you going to leave it for the professionals this time?
Normally, Alfari does not make a lot of signals. He definitely doesn't do the grenade animation. So I struggle to predict.
What context am I missing here?
In our first game, we had a pause, and Deficio was like, oh, he's doing this sign with his hands. You can't see me if you're at home. You can see me if you're in the audience. This sign, folks.
Only one hand. Only one hand.
What? That means, to me, that looked like he was throwing a football in from the sidelines.
What reminds you of a football? A grenade. Can be the only thing. What else could you throw in this game?
I mean...
Oh, you can throw your lead if you're Misfits, but apart from that... Hey!
Come on, Division. That was a good play from Jankos.
It was. And not a great play from Maxlor.
The worst thing that could happen in that case, because you don't have your ult for any follow-up team fights, and you don't stop the Rift Herald. So from bad to worse in an instant, you can see Perkz with the grin on his face. Things looking pretty good. And Jankos, despite playing so fantastically, actually looking quite serious, quite focused.
I mean, he's not on Braum. He's actually on a jungler, so he needs to fully focus in this game here, and he wants to carry, of course. I think it's going to be interesting to see what Misfits can do when they're not really far ahead.
Yep.
They're now not in control. By this time, normally, they've taken down most of the outer turrets, and they're about to put full pressure on, the next wave of turrets and like trying to force kills in your jungle. Not happening here.
Yeah, we're now 15 minutes into the game. Pretty much exactly. G2 have a 1.5k gold lead. G2 are the ones that have an extra tower over Misfits. And G2 are equalized in kills right now. They've completed a lot of their major items. Double Luden's Echo for both Hjarnan and Perks. And we got a Treeing Force on Wonder as well. So Misfits now in this slight deficit have to play from behind at 15 for the first time this
Which, of course, when you compare it to the 5.1k gold lead that they're used to having in the ULCS is a bit of a different stroke. But, of course, we can take a look back on the play that really built this lead for G2 and turned this game in their favor. We've watched it once before.
We have to watch it again.
We have to watch it again. Bam.
Ugh. Is it as bad as when Maxwell flashed in and then threw the mid laner the wrong way?
So the only thing I could think of here is, did he have full vision of
That's
Jankos?
what I'm wondering,
Because
yes.
the ward was pretty far away from him.
Yeah.
He might have just had...
If he didn't have vision, that was surprisingly close.
I mean, he probably saw him walk down. I assume a minion wave had just died or something, and he roughly knew where he was on the map. I mean, that's kind of the only excuse.
Yep.
So maybe if we get the replay again, just with vision toggle, we can see if he actually had full information of where Jankos was standing.
And how low was Mickey here? He took a fair chunk of damage from the minefield. Oh, and then the Q, max range combined with the passive on Perks was enough to secure the kill. So squishy supports pretty early into the game, combined with a completed Luden's Echo, results in a dead support.
Jankos also got that kill.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I saw the Yank. I mean, I could be crazy.
Oh, no, you're right. Because
Perks has no kills. So Jankos got the kill. I'm glad that Perks doesn't have any kills, so I don't have to be confused about that. But
not entirely sure how we
challenging Smite? Question mark?
Going back into the game, boys.
That's good news. All right, Misfits versus G2 status update. What would you say, Deficio? Misfits threw the lead. G2 secured it with a beautiful use of the
There you go. G2 outplayed them around the mid lane, but Misfits, there's a lot of action happening around this mid lane now.
Now trying to look for more plays on the bottom side of the map, use the pushing power that Ziggs. Wonder wants to clear out the waves here, but it looks like they are set to give up this mid lane tier 1 tower. Is that actually going to happen here? Ensemble one more auto, does take it down in the end.
Still Ziggs pushing.
There's going to be a satchel charge here in about 3 seconds, and it's going to take down that tower. Boop.
So G2 extend their gold lead now to 2,000. Misfits weren't able to secure the tier 2 in the bot lane. And so as you mentioned earlier, Defish, it's just a lot of trading objectives. And now we're kind of, you know, we're still at that 15-minute mark. Neither team really looking to force a fight right now. The particular champions like Yasuo are really waiting to hit that second item before they're enthusiastic about going into that side lane 1 versus 1 or trying to set up for these team fights. And when you kind of look at the side lanes, I will give the slight advantage over to Misfits when if you can get Alfari paired up against Perks, for example, then you're in a pretty good position. And the same goes for Senkix against the Gangplank. You're always going to be slightly favored. But G2, they want to be grouping up a lot more. We talked about how they do have this siege comp when they get underneath the tower. Because of the long-range poke and things like the Gangplank ultimate, it becomes very easy to take these structures down. But in order to do that, they have to control the side so they can then group up.
Oh, potentially a big fight here. Remember, G2 is not running a lot of engage. There's a lot of poke, long range, but they can't really start the fight properly. They need Misfits to do this.
Immediately, Mickey X manages to find a way in. Hansam looking for the follow-up damage. Lamb's Respite going to buy a little bit of time, but Alfari is in the middle of everybody. That is one unkillable Mundo. Goodbye to Jankos. Quick shutdown coming in for Misfits.
That's exactly what both comps want to do. Misfits want to dive into the backline, then the Kindred and the Tahm Kench is supposed to stop anyone from dying, but the rest of G2 were a little bit split up here. Perks could not really join the fight properly, and Misfits got enough time to kill Jankos. Did not go straight for the Drake. There's actually nothing for them on top side.
Not the most ideal scenario. G2 going to continue to clear out the mid lane. A lot of cooldowns burned on the side of Misfits, and Wonder just going to grab a little bit of farm. So just a kill going over to Misfits in the end, but G2 split up once again. Maybe this is a chance for Senkux to make a play here. Sleepy Mundo, Perks goes back for some cheeky damage, but not a lot going to happen here, gentlemen.
Maxwell does still have his ulti available. I don't believe he used it in the last fight. Either it was on cooldown or he just made the decision not to throw it out. But we'll have a look back at how this fight played out. So they had the flanking TP with the Mundo to kick things off. Then Mickey lands a really good two-man taunt into knockup. The Lamb's Respite comes in to just buy a little bit of time. You can see Perks off on the flank, not really able to deal much damage. Wonder got chunked down so low that he couldn't really get involved in the fight either. So because Misfits had the optimal setup, G2 struggled to answer in that close engage.
Well, it is Misfits picking up the Drake here. And then we actually got to see the lack of engage kind of hurt G2 because before the fight broke out, they found 2 Misfits players in the river. They were looking to try and jump them before Misfits could TP in and group as 5. But because they can't actually start a fight, they can only poke, well, they had to group up and then see Misfits set it all up. And I wonder if they thought Riptide was still alive, seeing as they all 5 rushed straight to the top side. But might have also just looked for a reset.
And interestingly enough, when we look at this Misfits lineup, the later we get in the game, the scarier and scarier their primary carries become. Hans Sama, a guy that I think we have to talk about because he has looked so good, unique in his commitment to play 80 carries in every single game, and looking so good on them.
Definitely the best 80 carry player so far. Also one of the only ones doing it, but he's finding complete success with it. He's winning lanes with Mickey. I think that's the biggest part because that's kind of the main reason a lot of people don't want to play 80 carries. They feel like they can't do anything in a 2v2 laning phase against Swain and these other kind of mages. Not in this game here. The Ziggs and Tom Kent couldn't do enough.
You've also got to give a lot of credit to Mickey too, because he is a large part of why they can look to play so aggressively. He is a big playmaker. He's someone that's always willing to push up and be aggressive in the laning phase too. And the duo has really developed a lot compared to last split, where at this point they started to taper off and not have as much carry threat as they did.
And Zaya is one of their champions for Misfits in this game. He was spiking on the first item. Storm Race, of course, been the choice now for all Zaya players, simply because, well, there is no other great first choice for you, but you do actually weave in a lot of spells where you do pause your auto attacks. So there is more chances of getting additional crits coming in from it. The chat once again spamming around. Misfits slightly winning.
Love to turn it around. G2 starting in their favor. Misfits still coming back and looking good. I mean, we're just talking about Hans Sama. You can't blame them, but I think it's good, Vedius, and just in general that we point out Mickey X too, because if you think about it, the TP mid, the last kill that they were able to get to pick off, this guy has been so key in building these leads and finding these engages. And when you have someone like Hans Sama, and even like Senkux in this game who can do the damage, having someone you can be confident in to engage is so crucial.
Yeah, and now that we're approaching the 20-minute mark, these playmakers are going to be very important for both sides. Because someone like Perks, you know that he can be game-changing on champions like the Zoe too. We saw it when he went up against Nuke Duck last split. We've already seen it over Rift Rivals. Finding these key picks and landing that crucial poke will be extremely important when setting up for these sieges and making it harder for Misfits to find those successful engages.
And of course, because he needs to land that poke, I actually think G2 is a little bit annoyed that it's double Cloud Drake for Misfits, because you are normally not in combat when you're standing against a poke comp, but the extra mobility is going to be so key at dodging around that key ability coming from a Zoe, or, a bomb just dancing from a Ziggs. Might be a small advantage for Misfits. I'm not saying that Cloud Drake is the greatest in the world.
First time I've ever heard you speak positively about Cloud
I know, but it's rare we're against so much poke damage.
I think it's actually a very accurate analysis. I like it a lot, Fish. I was just taken aback.
I know.
That is definitely a first. We'll write that down. We'll mark that moment, and we'll bring it up in a graphic at some point later in the split. Second time this split, Deficio has praised Cloud Drake. But now I think it's a good time to check in on the items. We do see junglers starting to work towards the second items. Yanko's potentially going for the Trinity Force here. Oh, no, rather, the build path changed about 2 years ago. So that's going to be two different items, Vedius. But also, interestingly, Maxlore finishing up the Zeke's conversions.
Yeah, I think that's pretty crucial for Maxlore, that he is going more towards enabling his AD carry. Ooh, there's a play up top.
Immediate Cleanse comes out. They get the Summoner Spell traded for the ulti. Yankos could try to
counter-attack.
this one back. No. Windwall's there to stop any further aggression.
They can't really chase them down. Again, that's the thing. G2 wants to either group around turrets and just sit and fire long-range skill shots, or they want to be the ones who gets to the objective first. So they're the ones with vision control, because when you have to face check against a team with Zoe and Ziggs, like these long-range poke champions, if you can't see when they fire the initial skill shot, it gets so much harder to react and actually dodge it. So if G2 is first to the objective, they can really use the composition properly. But right now they're kind of running around the map just like Misfits, and then they can't lock them down in time.
Also, Hans Sama is making sure to get on this mid lane wave as much as possible, and having that mid priority constantly allows you first access into the river, which is why you're seeing so many control wards up towards the Baron side of the map, and that's why G2 is just being forced to drop these couple of wards over the wall and make sure that Misfits aren't starting this one up. You also see Alfori constantly pushing in towards the bot side, and Wonder's happy to leave it because he does have the GP ulti, which means that he does occasionally group up with the other G2 members, but right now it is Misfits to kind of have the pressure game, even though G2 are the ones in a gold lead.
And of course, the later we get, the scarier it gets for Misfits to a certain degree to try that Baron, because you are up against the Zoe, the Ziggs, and the GP. There's so much AoE damage that if you do group in a pit, you could put yourself in an incredibly bad situation. You can see both these teams so dominant, they have not given up Barons yet this split, but that's got to change this game, gentlemen.
Or no one gets the Baron.
Or no one gets a Baron. That's true.
Very unlikely. I think once Maxlore, though, if he goes towards Warmugs as one of the next few items, will be crucial if they are going to play around Baron a lot. Infinity Edge is almost ready for Senkux. It is, of course, so damn expensive. I think the small little Buffett guy did not manage to change too much for him, but he's still farming towards it. I think he's sitting on about 2,000 gold right now. And I think that's going to be kind of the key. Get that item on Senkooks, then look for a teamfight around Baron if you are Misfits.
Yeah, we can also see that pretty much everything is even aside from the top lane matchup, which is what you kind of expect with Wonder running the Kleptomancy on the Gangplank, and the fact that he is about 25 CS ahead. That means that this game is still very even, and a lot of it will come down to execution. You've talked so much about it, Deficio. If Misfits can find those engages, those are the situations that they'll feel more favorable, whereas G2, they just want to land the poke. They just want to be the ones to get to the objective first so that they can prevent Misfits from finding those optimal engages.
And this Perks does his best to hold down on the top side here. Interesting to see both these teams start to move more towards that late game stage. They've both been so dominant in their respective matches. G2 with the funnel, Misfits with just incredible early games. So this is kind of a situation we are not used to seeing these teams in this split. How are each of these lineups going to function in the late game where they maybe don't have a greater advantage?
Nvidia already explained it. Engage versus disengage. The backline protection of a Tahm Kench and a Kindred needs to buy enough time so G2 does not die in the initial all-in from a Rakan. Third Drake going over to Misfits. This one is important because they're going to have to siege around Baron next. Can't really push against the Ziggs. That's a thing we learned many years ago. He tends to make games very long because you can't just take down these turrets, but you can take down Baron and force him into a fight.
And while it will help with Baron, they're not going to be able to dodge the skill shots quite as well, so is it really a victory? We'll have to find out.
Well, the other thing that Misfits have to be scared of is, tying onto the Baron point of Fisher is trying to siege against this comp, not only due to its wave clear, but the amount of damage too.
Oh, you have to tower dive.
Yeah, like it's super difficult to go up against Gangplank, Zoe, and Ziggs, just because of the sheer amount of damage they can throw out from Fog of War as well. So it's going to be challenging. Baron will definitely be a big point of contention for Misfits especially. Let's see how both teams handle this objective.
And you can see Misfits moving with confidence. Senkooks has now completed the Infinity Edge like you talked about, Deficio. And I think the other thing I want to point out is two big AP threats on the side of G2 up against Amundo. One of the best champions in the game about surviving magic damage. It's all on the GP. It's all on Jankos to take him down. Jankos has gone for the Warrior Enchantment, so it's not like they have a ton of shred to take out this tank. And I think that Alfari is going to be a pretty big threat as we move later in the game.
Luckily for G2, there's enough ways to reach the backline with, both GP ult and barrels. You have Ziggs ult flying in as well. That's enough to force a Hans Sama, out of the fight while you're dealing with the Mundo. So it might be a very split-up team fight we're going to get. Ideally for Misfits, they engage and actually instantly kill someone, but that should never happen with Kindred Tahm Kench. So it's fun to see how both comps kind of work against each other. The whole goal now, though, is the Baron setup, and you need deep vision against all the poke, because otherwise you will get hit by skill shots and you can't take Baron.
Maxlor, of course, slowly working towards the Warmogs, a key point to take the Baron, as you mentioned earlier, Deficio. For now, they're just happy with controlling the vision. Starting to pressure in on the top side. Maxlor maybe going to look for that pick there. They know if they take out a single member, that Baron becomes infinitely easier.
Oh, mid lane.
Though, now could be the one looking for the play. Mikyx trying to make his way out to safety. Wants to get out here. Perks going forward. Going to throw it in. Hans Sama almost immediately deleted. Can they make this one back? He's still alive. Jankos moving in with the clutch play to try to bring it home. Mounting Dread. How much further is it going to go? Mikyx running for his life. Looks like he will make it out to safety, but a beautiful pick for G2.
We talked about playmakers, and Perks lands the damage onto one of the crucial carries of Misfits. 5 members strong. They find the kill onto Hans Sama, and now they have their eyes set on the Baron.
Such a big play from G2 Esports, and Hans Sama here did not expect all the damage. He was late with the ulti, so that's why he dropped so low in the first place. 2 members of Misfits are behind the Baron right now.
Moving in for a little more. Perks, I was feeling frisky there, but does not land a Sleepy Trouble level. Means he has to back off, and G2...
They don't want to start it because there's still 4 members alive.
And you can see them pinging, chasing down to the top side of the map. They know that Misfits members were there. They're hunting for more members before they start this up, but they don't find anybody, so Misfits get to restack as 4 and are actually in a comfortable spot.
They actually lost very little out of that because Misfits, they had the push-up bot. Wonders does still have TP. That's why Alfari is grouped up with the team now. They might force Baron here to try and get the teleport out from Wonder and Hyanan. And remember, a lot of ultis are still on cooldown after G2 just found a pick. Hans Sama, he's about to join the rest of his team.
But Deed can't even ult into the fight yet. It's Jankos now. TP coming.
Coming in. Smite and Lamb's respite up. Jankos can't dictate the pace of this Baron. Misfits know that. They back off. They're settled for the TPs. Still a big advantage to them to get 2 for free.
Yeah, that was the entire call here from Misfits. They knew the moment TPs came down, they had to just step away. It is kind of crazy in this meta that we're getting a game with 3 kills on each side. It's going to be a late game when most of our games end around the 30-minute mark. But because G2's comp is so defensive, Misfits can't properly snowball this game, and that's literally the plan from G2 is like, haha, you can't push, we have wave clear, and you can't tower dive because we have time against Kindred.
You've also got to remember that one of the biggest issues for Misfits last split was that they'd find a lot of these early leads, they make one crucial mid-game decision, and then they weren't able to close games out with pretty significant gold leads. And part of this meta that benefited them so much was that it became a lot easier to close out the game with Baron being easy to take early on and these early game comps allowing you to snowball. Let's see how long G2 can stall and if Misfits can play an effective late game.
And with G2 now in control of vision around the pit, it's Misfits who have to walk into them, to walk into this defensive comp. The Ziggs, the Zoe, Alfari, despite the tankiness, still taking a lot of damage here. And this is the exact situation Misfits wanted to avoid. Damage not going to connect on the barrel there. Jankos, though, still hungry for blood. They're ready to force this fight. They're ready to push Misfits back.
Keep your eyes on the side lanes. There's a big minion wave up topside for G2, and it's starting to stack in the bottom as well. So G2 have all three lanes pushing, and their poke has just forced Maxlaw out.
And now that the poke lands first, Misfits are scared to engage because they have low members. That one is going to force Maxlaw back. He's delayed. G2 Esports, they're playing it slow, but they're playing it correct because they're poking all the Misfits members out of the fight before it even starts.
Top wave has to be answered. Will G2 turn back for the Baron? Alfari now running in, but he's all on his lonesome. Mickey X, Hansama potentially ready to look for the engage. Battle dance forward. Will he look for the grand entrance? Mickey now has to back off. That is still a very squishy recon. Alfari can't be dealt damage at this point, but it just does not matter because Perkz is not aiming for him. Perkz, though, using the cleanse to make it out to safety. Immediate GP ult comes in. Indeed, waiting on the Devour. Doesn't need to use it quite yet. The team fight slows down. Only Alfari taking damage at this point, but does get knocked back into the team. Hansama ready to respond, but the fight's starting to slow down, except for Jankos on the top side is going to look for Maxlaw. A lot of damage coming in from the Kindred. Wonder ready to fire back. They leap in. They go all in on the jungler. Senkux manages to get one. Now they want to turn it. Tahm Kench back in with the rest of the team. It's Alfari in the back line. Eyes of the team. Hansama, the monster performance. He brings back the feathers, but it's not enough. Jarnan will go down. Alfari starting to clean up the Mundo. Unkillable. Misfits turning it back.
Misfits with a massive team fight against G2 after what looked like such calm, cool, collected play is ending in disaster. And Misfits now have their eyes set on the Baron. 4 members of G2 are down.
The cleanup crew.
Such a very, very important fight. G2 Esports were poking them out. They'd already taken the inhib. Wonder is alone now. Can he do it?
That's on Wonder. One barrel. Can he steal this one away? Baron getting lower. 7K and dropping. He's just going to walk away. It looked disastrous when the inhibitor dropped. But in a moment of brilliance, Misfits find the engage, and they'll find the Baron too.
And it was such a crucial mistake from Jankos, splitting apart from the rest of the team and trying to go for a bit of a skirmish fight against Maxlaw is where this whole fight started off, because Misfits were just getting chunked out so low, they didn't feel confident enough. But keep your eyes on Jankos trying to force this fight.
At the moment, Maxlaw can actually jump onto him. Mickey makes the call. Hey, Senkux, I'm going to set this one up. Jump in. We can chain CC. He can't ult in time. He goes down. And another thing to point out, the poke mages, they ran out of mana on the side of G2. They stayed for so long that in the end, Misfits knew, okay, we can actually get close now. We can dodge one spell and then he can't cast another one for a couple of seconds.
And the thing is, with the jungler down, maybe G2 decided we have to go for this fight. Maybe if we can kill Maxlaw, we can stop them from doing Baron. But instead, they just funneled themselves into this choke point, which made it so easy for Hansama to get all this AoE damage off and just melt through the G2 line.
Let's remember the wave play is still great from G2 Esports. They're looking to just stall this one out and wait for the Baron to expire. There is no banner in the game to try and make it annoying for Ziggs to play. It is long gone. Misfits most likely just looking for another fight more than just going straight for the two. Senkux is very strong. He wanted to prove himself. He said he belonged at the top of the mid lane standings together with Perkz and Caps. And so far, he's played a good game.
Making a good case, but if we're talking about engages, then it's all eyes on Mickey X, it's all eyes on Maxlaw. Where's the CC going to come from? Who is going to get caught out? Can Wadid and the rest of G2 stop this from going down? We just saw a fight. We know what happens when you get onto that G2 backline. Pretty easy to clear through with the Mundo, but it's not going to be that easy when they're standing under their towers.
Yeah, they're just trying to split them up right now. They know it's hard to tower dive them, so they just focus on the turret itself. But as you guys can see, very quickly the wave dies.
Yeah, G2 just playing the defensive game as they have done for so long, trying where they can to land the poke, but they just want to wait this Baron out for as much as they possibly can. 1:30 left on it. Very likely that Misfits will find at least one tower, but for the time being, G2 doing a good job of stalling things out.
Doing what they can to control the bleeding. Maxlaw looking for an engage if anyone is so greedy as to step forward for the tower, but it's not going to happen. G2 were already punished once for their hubris there on that play where they thought they had the easy pick. They're not going to make the same mistake again.
This game is going to deliver. Two teams sitting 6-0. Misfits did not get to show themselves at Rift Rivals. Did not get to show if they were or are the best team in Europe. They want to take down G2 here. It is dead even in gold so far. We've seen the hard engage comp from Misfits versus the defensive disengage poke comp from G2. Gone both ways so far in the game.
And as we get later and later in the game, Hansama gets scarier and scarier. The Yasuo is stronger and stronger. Yes, the poke mages are there. Yes, they can cut people down, but Misfits definitely in control right now. The Baron really starting to turn things in their favor. Immediate 2k gold lead there on the back of 2 towers. Mickey has to be careful, but has the tools to get out.
Oh, G2 just wanted to make sure they didn't lose any inhib turrets, and that is the case now. Baron will expire.
Indeed, where's he going? Looks like a collapse on the top side. Maxwell can now start to move in. Semtex potentially in trouble. The wind wall comes out. Major cooldown there, but Hjarnan knocked up. They're going to back off, hold away. You can see the gold difference, but it just doesn't matter too much. Mickey finding yet another engage. They're trying to walk their way out of this one. Wonder is here. Misfits have to be careful. You walk face first into a gangplank barrel, you will die immediately. Ulti comes out. Mickey almost taken down. Hansama with the disengage. They're trying to buy a bit of time, but Misfits' eyes are set on the tower until Semtex finds an opportunity to get into that back line. And Mickey and Hansama on the brink of death, but it does not matter because Alfari is unstoppable in the back line. The rest of the team just taking their time on that inhibitor. Low health bars mean they may have to walk away, but they're going to try to go for a second one.
They still have the numbers advantage. They're going to shred through these towers so quickly. And while G2 are on the respawns, Misfits are committing to another inhib, but they've got to back away.
Walking away for now, but just the tankiness of Alfari when he's allowed to walk into that backline is so strong. Doesn't matter how low you get Hansama, you can't kill Alfari if you're burning all your cooldowns there.
That's why we asked for the Mundo in the pick and ban phase when we saw the Ziggs, we saw the Zoe. We knew, okay, these two champions cannot kill Mundo, and GP, while he can try, he ideally wants to spend his time trying to reach the backline with the barrels here. So Alfari is just playing like a madman in the front line. Here's the fight. It's G2 starting it. Baron is expired. They're not afraid to push anymore. They want to try and catch Singles, but it's a great wind wall. And now G2 can't really get to him. Jankos takes a greedy path to try and move around and catch Singles, and that actually costs his life.
You got to criticize Jankos now. 2 crucial plays that have given Misfits a lot of opportunities as we approach this mid to late game. And now they've been able to find the goalie. They've secured an inhibitor, and they've had a significant Baron power play. 6,000 gold going into the pockets of Misfits. While that play was happening, every single member was sitting on around like 2,000 gold. And Dracos, just look at some of the items that have been finished.
Absolute crazy. The Hextrick are now coming in for Hansama. He's a little bit safer. Bloodthirster potentially next on the way. You can see Yasuo as well. And look, there's death caps. There's starting to be enough flat pen to interrupt some of the healing from Mundo, but not enough to shred through him, not enough to bring down the damage to take it down. Alfari, things looking rough for G2 Esports right now.
Well, they only lost one inhib, despite losing Jankos at a very crucial time. When we had all the lanes pushing in favor of Misfits, they're still looking for a return fight, but gotta keep highlighting this. They don't have a proper way of starting that fight. They have to poke Misfits down and then hope they can catch a member and actually one-shot him in time, but there's no upfront engage. It's only been with Deed using Time Ken's ult, and then they can slow down everyone with GP ult to try and chase. No one can follow though. There's also no items speeding up the movement speed.
Difficult spot to be in for G2. Baron coming up shortly with Misfits having complete control of the map at this point in time. It's going to be hard for them to respond. But Misfits grouping in the pit is exactly the scenario they want for the Zoe, for the Ziggs, for the GP. But they have to be able to capitalize on it. They cannot afford to get picked off.
I mean, the advantage for Misfits right now is that because they have pressure on all 3 lanes, they are able to gain vision across the entire topside jungle, which means that G2 are the ones that have to face check. And when you are this kind of squishier comp with all this hard engage on the side of Misfits, that is a dream scenario for Misfits to be in. So for G2, what they kind of want is the same situation where they had earlier. The poke actually lands. You start getting that chip damage. And you only need a single Q from Perks or a single bomb from Hjarnan or a single keg from the side of
Cloud Dregs, baby!
Yeah, but it's so difficult. But that's their ideal scenario. Get that one bit of poke onto a crucial member, make Misfits uncomfortable to force a fight, and then you keep the pressure on. You group up, you chase, you keep throwing with the damage, and then you slowly take down these towers.
And Hjarnan stepping forward with confidence, knowing that the Tom Kench is there, but you can see how close this game is, how balanced on a knife's edge it is, because you saw the gold difference, how it can shift back. It was G2 in control for a small period of time. Now Maxlor whiffing the ultimate, means that they'll at least get a brief reprieve. Sleepy Maxlor out far there to block. Also the Wolves, so that works out nicely.
And what's key here is if the engage miss and G2 gets time to land poke, if you force Misfits back, that allows G2 to go to the objective first and set up their little castle around little fortress where they can start landing siege and avoid any flank. But this is now Elder Drake. This Baron will not go down in time. G2 are not there to start it instantly. They will get collapsed on if they stay.
They need to find a pickoff. They need to take somebody down. Misfits already had the advantage in the team fight. Can they get a little bit more here? Pros managed to land the Sleepy Trouble Bubble, but it connects onto Alfari. Immediately the GP ult is used. Jankos wants to finish that one out. The Ziggs ult is used too, but Mickey X is on the backside. Immediate ulti right in the middle of everybody. Lambs respite, but just call it a brief break because it's not going to do much else. Hansama taking down Jankos. Senkuk's there for the cleanup. Misfits obliterating G2 in this exchange. Bye-bye on the SOAS TP, but it's not going to amount to much. Misfits are looking for the win.
Fantastic flank from Mickey, obliterates G2 where they stand. 3 members are dead. Misfits have their eyes set on the prize, and they want to be called the best team in Europe.
Only one team could walk away undefeated today, folks. Misfits, sights set on 7-0, looking for the 9-0 on the first rotation of the split, and they're well on the way as they take down G2.
What a great game of League of Legends. We had it all. Tension, smart play, a good back and forth. So many things went right and wrong for both teams. But just a couple of crucial decisions resulted in Misfits getting a Baron and then just keeping the pressure up.